Ever wonder how that pepper shaker ended up on your table? It's more than just a seasoning. Pepper was once so valuable it could buy a house. Craving for spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves didn't just flavor food, it fueled before the 15th century, the world's continents were isolated, each with its own story. The spice trade changed everything, pushing Europeans to risk their fortunes on dangerous ocean voyages. The goal? Cut out the middlemen and sail straight to the source, keeping the profits for themselves. This hunger for flavor sparked the age of exploration, a time when commerce, not just adventure, drove ships across uncharted seas. Spices were worth more than gold, and the quest to control them led to discoveries, conquests, and tragedies on a global scale. The world became connected by trade and with a simple desire for taste. Christopher Columbus wasn't out to prove the world was round. He was chasing spices and profits. Instead of sailing east, he gambled on a westward route, underestimating the size of the planet. In 1492, he landed in the Caribbean, convinced he'd reached Asia, and called the locals Indians, a mistake that stuck. This accident connected two worlds that had evolved separately for millennia. Columbus didn't find the spices he sought, but he opened the door. Spain's discovery Columbus's mistake became the turning point for the modern world. The world map would never look the same again. While Spain looked west, Portugal looked east, determined to reach the source of spices. In 1498, Vasco da Gama sailed around Africa and reached India, finally connecting Europe directly to the spice markets. This was a breakthrough. No more paying middlemen. Spices could now be bought at the source and sold for massive profits. Da Gama's voyage shifted global trade from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic, making Lisbon a new center of wealth. The Portuguese didn't just trade, they conquered, using cannons and ships to dominate the Indian Ocean. They built a network of fortified ports, forcing local merchants to pay for protection. Venice and Genoa faded as Portugal rose, but their monopoly wouldn't last. Their success inspired rivals. The Dutch and English soon arrived, ready to fight for their own share. The race for control of the spice trade was on, and the world's balance of power was shifting fast. The Indian Ocean was now the stage for a new era of global competition. The Dutch didn't just join the spice trade, they took over, creating the Dutch East India Company, or DOC. For worse. Why did spices matter so much? In medieval Europe, food was bland and preservation meant salt. Spices were the ultimate luxury. A pinch of pepper or cinnamon was a status symbol, like driving a luxury car today. Spices were so valuable they were used as currency. A pound of nutmeg could buy livestock and pepper could pay rent. The promise of these riches justified dangerous voyages and fierce competition. As sea routes opened, spices became more accessible, but prices stayed high. Demand only grew. Cookbooks overflowed with recipes spice rack in your kitchen is a direct link to this turbulent history. Every sprinkle of pepper is a taste of centuries of exploration, greed, and global change. Spices weren't just about flavor, they were about power. The pursuit of taste shaped the world we know today. While spices drove exploration east, sugar transformed the west, and at a terrible cost. Sugarcane, once a rare luxury, thrived in the Caribbean's climate, turning islands into vast plantations. The Portuguese pioneered the brutal plantation system, and European colonists scaled it up in the Americas. Sugar production was grueling, dangerous work, and indigenous laborers quickly died from disease and overwork. Planters turned to Africa, fueling the transatlantic slave trade to meet Europe's insatiable demand for sweetness. Sugar went from a luxury to a daily staple, sweetening tea and coffee for the masses. The more sugar Europeans craved, the more enslaved Africans were forced to toil in planting conditions. Sugar became the engine of continents. The demand for sugar, cotton, and tobacco fueled the transatlantic slave trade, one of history's darkest chapters. Over 12 million Africans were captured and shipped across the Atlantic in brutal, overcrowded conditions. The Middle Passage was a nightmare. Disease, suffocation, and death claimed millions before they even reached the Americas. Survivors faced relentless labor, violence, and dehumanization on plantations. Life expectancy was short. The system depended on a constant influx of new captives. The slave trade created the African diaspora and entrenched racist ideologies that still echo today. The wealth built on slave labor powered Europe's industrial revolution and shaped the Americas. The legacy of this system is inseparable from the modern world's inequalities. The sugar in your tea is a reminder of the human cost behind global trade. The interconnected world was built on both ambition and unimaginable suffering. The Age of Exploration sparked the Columbian Exchange, a massive swap of plants, animals, and ideas between continents. Suddenly, tomatoes, potatoes, corn, and chocolate transformed European diets and economies. The potato especially fueled a population boom, making Europe's cities and industrial growth possible. Tobacco, another American crop, became a global sensation, addictive, profitable, and central to colonial economies. Tobacco plantations, like sugar, relied on enslaved labor, enriching European powers. But the exchange wasn't just moving wealth. Europe sent deadly diseases to the Americas. Smallpox and measles devastated indigenous populations, wiping out up to 90% in some areas. This demographic collapse made conquest and colonization far easier for Europeans. The Columbian Exchange reshaped landscape, society, and the balance of power worldwide. New foods and habits spread, and so did suffering and loss. The world's plates and palates were forever changed. The exchange was a revolution. The winners, and consequences that still shape us. What we need today are the legacy of this global collision. The Age of Exploration rewired the world, creating the first global network of trade and culture. Driven by a hunger for flavor, explorers connected continents and sparked the birth of the global economy. The Atlantic replaced the Mediterranean as the world's economic center, and corporations like the VOC wielded the power of nations. Sugar, potatoes, and tobacco reshaped diets, economies, and societies.